Osiris.
Yeah, I was feeling like a creep as I watched you sleep face down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Corner of Gray Street podcast. I'm Nolan, joined by Bruce, as always, and we are going to dive into DMB Europe 2024 today with some guests, Bruce. And but before we do that, big news in the COGS community: we have launched a merch store. Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. Corner of Gray Street shop. If you're if you're a fan of the pod, if you're not a fan of the pod and just love logos of street signs and microphones, we have you covered. And some great stuff on there, Bruce. Some throwbacks, some new designs, some classics. A little bit of something there for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you put it well too. Also, if you're just a fan of like random DMB adjacent art,
Mm.
sort of, and merch, this is certainly a place for you, so to speak. So you can head on over to any of our socials. We've got the links on there. We've got like shirts, stickers, coffee mugs, pint glasses, hoodies, all sorts of little things. And we don't have any on just yet because we just launched it, but we'll be sporting some around this summer and having a blast doing so. So hopefully you guys do as well. We'd love to see you guys rocking the merch. But we've had a lot of requests for stuff like that over the years. We've done it a time or two, but not at a scale of like this at all. So yeah, we wanted to dive in and bring some of that to you guys. Hopefully y'all enjoy that. And Nolan is just in time for summer tour, which starts next week in Tampa, down in my current home state of Florida. We've got Tampa, the West Palm Beach swing, and then up here in Jacksonville for some hometown shows for myself and Nolan. For the Tampa tour opener, we've got something a little special for everybody.
Yes. Hopefully it happens this time. Everyone's schedules have been so busy. He's probably the busiest guy in showbiz,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we'll have a nice convos on the corner with a certain guitar god. Just you're gonna have to wonder who that might be, but that will hopefully come out the day of the tour opener in Tampa. Really excited about that. Bruce, have you, before we get into the rest of Europe, have you seen any good shows lately? Non-DMB shows, non-live stream shows?
No, not yet. I feel like my other concert going experiences are currently in front of me and not in the
Mm.
immediate past, unfortunately.
Oh, I thought
But
you
I'm
saw
looking
someone
forward to it. How about
recently.
you?
Yeah, actually, I was not able to watch the Lisbon live stream due to
What?
the Love and Life Fest in Charlotte. Got to see the
Ooh,
Avett Brothers, Mount Joy, and my guy Noah Khan. Just bring the house down. It
yes.
was epic. What a lineup! What a way to end a
He's a big
Sunday
Dave
night.
guy.
Yeah, all of them. Actually, fun fact. Saw the Avett Brothers for the first time in 2009, end of April 2009 in Charlotte, opening for DMB. And then 15 years later, got to see him play in before Noah Khan and then play with Noah Khan. So that was pretty freaking awesome. I hadn't been to many festivals before, but that was the biggest crowd I've ever seen a show at. It was insane. Noah, as Dave has said, is a bad boy. So check out Noah Khan. Shout out to Noah Khan. Let's talk about all of your depressing music on our podcast. Let's do
It's
that.
so good,
Bruce,
though. It is so
he's
good.
so good. So good. All right, Bruce, let's get into Europe. What
Well, you
what are your initial
first of
thoughts?
all, hold on. You were talking about a massive
Mm.
crowd.
Hmm.
And these Euro crowds were very small. Not that they
Very
weren't sold out, because they were pretty much at capacity for a lot of these shows, if not sold out.
yeah.
But small venues, which is really, really cool. I think
Mhm,
something that we take for granted here in the state. Oh yeah, they play the sheds, like they're playing big
mhm,
amphitheaters, and we're there at 15K people or whatever. But it's really, really cool to see them or would be cool to see them in like 2,000 capacity or whatever that it was for some of these.
oh,
So
yeah,
that was kind of I guess, my initial thing here as far as what, in comparison to what you just saw. But yeah, we're
mhm,
going to go through an entire recap, and we obviously waited for the entire tour to be over. Number one, because we kind of had a lot going on in our own lives, but also wanted to kind of let everything marinate, compile all of our thoughts, wait until some of those that are friends of the pod that we're actually going to go and bring them on. So
mhm,
we'll have them in just a few moments. But kind of bring you an episode that we've never done before. We've got 3 total guests that I believe were at least 5 of the
mhm.
shows throughout the whole tour. So pretty excited to do that. We've never really done it that way before. But yeah, you never know. We're constantly evolving. We're about to be on our 5th year anniversary. And we've got to find all of those cool and fun things to keep you all as listeners interested, I guess.
Yeah, 5 years is crazy, Bruce. It has flown by, and a lot has happened since then, and I kinda feels like DMB is having the best run, that they've had since we became a podcast. It's up for debate, but I don't know. In the
Ooh.
last year, I think so. And they, kinda continued it throughout Europe, with a few shows that were primo DMB. Um, but yeah, let's get into some stats. Uh, Found some of these on the almanac because duh, those guys are goat. Um, DMB has previously toured in Europe 95, 96, 98. Nice run there. Oh 07, oh 09, 2010, 2015, and 2019. Obviously, this was their first time touring over there since the pandemic and since Walk Around the Moon was released. So a little heavy on Walk Around the Moon tunes, which is not a bad thing at all. Love that. But they kicked things off on April 2nd in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Um, they've played 5 DMB shows there, 1 Dave and Tim show with a nice little Gray Street opener to kick off the Euro tour. Bruce, and not a ton happening in this show. Kind of felt like a continuation a little bit from the Vegas and Innings Fest kind of vibe.
Yeah, I would agree. It was just kind of, it's sometimes tough seeing the first one, especially when they're going overseas. They're going to have to get into a rhythm, right? They're going to play things that are a little bit safe there. They obviously
Mhm,
went back to some of those covers like Will It Go Round in Circles, Let's
mhm,
Dance, things of that nature. But it's not that those were really played very often in Europe. So maybe that bodes well.
mhm.
Because to be honest, I don't really care too much to see those per se this summer.
Busted stuff
Um, but
still back,
yes, how
still
about
there.
that? I mean, shout out to the podcast, obviously, for opening the tour. That was intentional by Dave. So
Yeah,
we appreciate that. But then busted stuff, obviously, in there. And then a nice little Crash in the Warehouse set closing combo that
yeah,
is very tasty.
love that.
It's also one of those under 2 hour long shows that you kind of see at the beginning of tours where they,
Mhm,
again, just haven't quite started to expand upon things. So it was, really kind of just one of those. It's not a warm up show. I don't want to say that for Amsterdam. It still had some
mhm,
good stuff in there and the boys were getting after it, but that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And really knowing the opening run for this show is really indicative of what we'd see many of the shows when you've got these songs in those early spots. You've got Virginia in the
mhm,
Rain, When the World Ends, Walk Around the Moon, Stay or Leave a little bit, but then Madman's Eyes, Looking for a Vein. Those were in the first like 7 songs every show or every other show. It was,
mhm,
you had those grouped together. But so it was just kind of really one of those. It was a standard Europe show, and I think the almanac rarity was literally like 9 out of the 18. So it was exactly right down the middle. Um, but yeah, solid for Amsterdam. Would have been cool to be there, I think, obviously. But then they moved over into Germany in Cologne, and at the Palladium Köln or Köln.
Mm.
I'm not sure how they
Mhm.
say it there. Which had seen two DMB shows, or has seen now two DMB shows and one Dave and Tim show so far. But yeah, Noel, why don't you go through a little bit of the Cologne, Germany show here?
Yeah, on the 4th of April, we get a Fool in the Rain opener, Old Dirt Hill, Sam Cop. Nice little easy start there. Then on Nancy's Warehouse, Madman's Monsters, Gravedigger, Lover Lay Down, All You Wanted Was Tomorrow. First time
Hmm.
played in Europe. And then I think the end of this set is pretty nice. Idea of You, Break Free, Lie in Our Graves, no reprise. Come On, Spaceman, YM, Into Ants, and then an encore of Something to Tell My Baby, Lie in Our Graves reprise for the first time, played separately from the main song since April 3rd, 2019. Um, so 5 years there, and that was, in Italy on their last Euro tour, and then they end
Oh,
with Grey Street. So Bruce, I think, some interesting things in there. Um, I love that you just see the creativity sticking around with the use of the reprise there, and then Idea of You showing up. First of several plays on this tour, so I kinda I was wondering about that song a little bit when we might see it again, so that was nice, nice little surprise there.
yeah, it had kinda died off, it seemed like, the last couple tours a little bit, but, yeah, you did say a couple of creative things and things that didn't happen much in Europe, so you had the Fool in the Rain opener, that was the only Fool in the Rain in Europe. I think people were a little bit like, "Oh, here's Fool in the Rain opener again, there's Dave being lazy." Well, it was the only one, so we are perfectly fine, how about get over it? And then you had that Gravedigger where Dave actually sang, one of the choruses, um before the Carter solo intro, and this is something that he did a time or two. He would
Mhm.
sing the chorus by himself right before Carter actually starts kind of the intro to the song. So that was something interesting that he threw in there as well. Love the idea of you. And All You Wanted Was Tomorrow, which was only played twice over there in Europe. And then again, like you said, that Graves reprise, that is pretty dang cool if you ask me. And yeah,
Yeah.
just a solid show there. I think that this one was a little more indicative of what we were to see or to have coming the rest of the tour, as far as a couple of creative things they hadn't really done in a while, things you weren't
Mhm.
expecting. So I thought that was super cool, that they pulled out in Cologne, Nolan. And the showtime it built, right? We had the first one under 2 hours, this one 2 hours 10 minutes, and then we skip over to Hanover, Germany, where they actually played a little bit longer. We're getting closer to 2 hours and 20 minutes over on this show. Unfortunately, on the rarity side, this was 18 out of 18. This was the most
Mm.
standard show you could have possibly gotten, um, even though they did get a couple of, I guess for the tour, rare things potentially. They had a ton of tour debuts for the third show around here, but yeah, I don't think anyone was as into this one on paper.
No, no, definitely not. I think it's time to move out of the Deutschland, and we'll come back. This is the second of 3 shows, so we'll be back, and our special guest is gonna chime in on that. April 7th, Oslo, Norway, at the Oslo Spectrum, 2nd DMB show there. When the World Ends opener, one of Dave's faves. Um, yeah, finally, get some nice variety here with some oldies, some classics. Bruce, Say Goodbye. The only thing showed up, which, I just wonder that it's become a rarity, off of Walk Around the Moon for some reason. But Typical Situation and Say Goodbye in the same show and Two Step to end the show. Come on, Bruce. That's pretty good. Crash Into Me also kind of it's sticking around, and that is wonderful for
Yeah,
everyone.
dude. Well, yeah. I mean, and the Crash album in general just dominated the show. You had 6 songs from Crash.
Mhm.
The next album with 3 was Walk Around the Moon. So, I mean, just a really Crash heavy set here, which is, I mean, when Crash is your most played album and it doubles any other play from any other album, that's indicative of a pretty solid show for the most part. And I think that, we see the triplets in there right in the middle and that
Mhm.
nice run of Only Thing. Well, really, you had Virginia in the Rain, Stay or Leave, Only Thing, Say Goodbye, so much anyone seen the bridge too much you could put come on in there, typical situation. That was pretty nice, honestly, and just
Mhm.
just a really nice overall show here, a great two-step to end it. So really nice over in Norway. I thought that that was one that maybe it was more of a jump start kind of to the tour a little bit. You had
Yeah.
again some of those nicer rarities, like you said, some of the classics and some really decent flow that you don't always get with DMB shows. But I thought that this one really, really had that. Um,
Mhm.
and then Nolan, we're staying kind of up in that area with Stockholm, Sweden here at Circus, which is one of the coolest venue names that you're going to have. This is the first time they'd ever played the Circus, whatever arena. I don't know, Circus amphitheater, Circus venue, and they came out gun swinging with So Right opener, which is really awesome. Nolan, I think that either of us would be very pleased if a show that we saw started with So Right.
Oh, absolutely. And that venue, seating capacity, 1,650. Uh,
Ooh.
Teeny tiny. I wanna see DMB in a venue like that so bad.
Oh,
Um,
sorry. Before you go, I thought of something. I saw this that people were getting emails like the week or so before this show, telling them that they could make dinner reservations at the venue before the show. So that was kind of cool. It was almost like almost like you're at like one of those casinos that you have the hotel and you can have whatever. But I guess it had a restaurant attached to it that people were
it
making
looks like it. Yeah.
some resis right before the show at Circus.
Oh, that's cool. Very neato. Uh, Gotta check that place out. Fool to
Yeah.
Think, only one of the tour. Yes. Love it. Stone, Bruce. Let's go. Uh, yeah, Fool to Think, Satellite into Will It Go Round in Circles. I would like to see that. A little, changing it up with the segues there. It Could Happen, first time played in Europe. This is a nice run, though, here to close out the show. Really, I mean, the whole set pretty strong, but Crush, Don't Drink the Water, Stone, 3
Oh,
BTCS in a row. It Could Happen, Break Free, So Damn Lucky, Ants Marching. Woo,
I like
that's
that.
pretty fire, and then a Rye Whiskey Grey Street encore, but man, that might be, I mean, so far, that's probably the run of the tour.
Yeah, so far I think you might be right. That's pretty disappointing. That was the only It Could Happen of the tour.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's interesting.
It it could happen
Um,
once.
it could only happen once. But something that didn't only happen once is what happened over in Copenhagen, Denmark for the next show
Mm,
at Royal Arena. This was the second DMB show. They've also played a Dave and Tim show over there, but no tour debuts in this one.
mhm.
And When the World Ends opener. Very standard for the tour. We'll get into that a little bit later. When the World Ends, then you had triplets with this So Much, Bridge Too Much, Walk Around the Moon early, Madman's Eyes early obviously. Hands of God 41, Lover Laid Down. You had mid set Rapunzel, kind of a late set Sister, Die Trying, Come On, So Damn Lucky Run to end the main set, which is a little. Not my taste, I guess, when you throw them all
Mhm,
together.
mhm.
Something to Tell My Baby, and then a monster two step to close. No other songs hit 10 minutes the entire show until that 20-minute two step in the encore. So really just kind of
Good
standard
way to
fare.
end it.
Just do. That's true. You could kind of just roll on in very, very late to the show, see a monster 20-minute two step, and may have been worth the
Mhm.
price of admission. I don't know.
Probably was. Probably was. Okay. Thank you, Copenhagen, for that. Next, Warsaw, Poland. Shout out to Mike, Polska, Nowak. Um, really, all of the Polish community, in which we know many. Flip, legend. Coach K, legend.
Total
Mike
legend.
Nowak, legend. Uh,
Sort of a
yeah,
legend.
Squirm opener TD. Did a little stolen away on 55th and 3rd TD. You never know. She and a nice run as well in the main set. Again, Liner Graves, Gray Street, come on, Nancy's into Warehouse. And then I love this encore, Some Devil, Dave Solo, Crush. That to me, if you're gonna get an E1 Dave Solo, that's almost an ideal encore for me. I love that so much, Bruce. Yeah, what are your thoughts before we hop back to Germany?
Yeah, this one was solid. I think you had some standard stuff coming early with the One Sweet World, Funny the Way It Is, we're in there, Stolen Away, and then Madman's and Looking for a Vein back to back. You had the fourth play already of So Much Bridge and Too Much just in these first several shows, which was really interesting. When the World Ends mid set, which is not very standard, is typically early. So that was kind of cool. But I agreed with you that that closing run was nice, and really, really good encore. I also like again that they're continuing on the you don't really know what warehouse intro you're going to get. I really wish they'd do that
Mm,
with some other songs too, that you don't really know what kind of version, so to speak, is coming.
yeah,
Um, our other guys, Goose, they do a good job of that, of having multiple kind of versions of a song.
yeah.
You never really know which one they're going to play. I think that that's
Mhm.
cool when bands do that, just kind of keep you on your toes, especially for a band in their 30 something year like DMB.
Yeah,
Um,
dead
but
ass.
regardless, Crash and Walk Around the Moon again being kind of the top albums here, you can't really go too wrong there. And again, this is really the Walk Around the Moon Euro tour, so to speak. So you're gonna see that, and it's not going to be very surprising. But yeah, Nolan, this is the final show of the entire tour. That'll wrap it up for us tonight. No, we've actually that is the last show that we will have before we bring in our first guest of the evening. And I'm going to let him actually introduce himself because we're going to let him just go ahead and cook. Chris, how's it
Bruce,
going, man? Thanks for
Colin.
joining us on the pod.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel like I'm talking to some celebrities here. I've been listening to you guys forever, so love this.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate that. That's that's far too kind. We are most certainly none of the sort. But
Uh,
yeah.
what you guys do for the
So
community, man, it's awesome. Yeah, I love it. So
no, we
Appreciate that. Thanks for coming on, man.
yeah,
Let's get into Berlin and see
oh, what a show.
get all your thoughts and reactions here.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
absolutely.
going to say, first off, Chris, his Instagram handle is like Future Chopped Champ, I believe. So he's a chef. And we put
Ooh.
in here
Become
as
a
his just our only note really for this show is let Chris cook. And we're going to let you cook, man. We're going to let you roll into Berlin. Tell us a little bit about your, pre-show experience and all of that and go into the show. And this is your show right now, man. So we're going to let you roll. We want to hear all about the Uber Eats Music Hall.
Yeah, pretty cool venue too. I mean, first off, Berlin is a vibe. Um, my wife and I kind of just picked it out of the stack of shows that we could go to. Um, we knew it was going to be like one of those European hits heavy tours, so we're pretty pumped about that. Really easy to travel to. We're traveling out of Logan. We're Cape Codders up here, and you know, it was very American friendly, if you could say. Yeah, it was a little nerve wracking going to a foreign country to see your favorite band in the world. Um, but we found it super easy to get around. Transportation is super easy. We got a hotel right next to the venue, so we could walk to the show, which was really cool. Stayed a couple days, and you haven't really lived until you've had German beer in a real beer garden. So we got to check that off the list.
Oh, so
Yeah,
jealous.
jealous of that probably the most.
Yeah, definitely. So incredible vibe for sure. Um, walking into the show, a lot of um, a lot of travelers, I would say. Probably pretty 50-50. It was a good mix. And then getting in, it was a small venue, like you guys were talking about. Like it was super intimate, and I had never seen the band in something that size. I think it was maybe 3,500 people. So super cool. We were pretty pumped about that. We got seats right around the side of the venue, right even with the band. Like you could see
Ooh,
the acoustics in there were incredible too. Um, there's
really? Okay, I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, so it was you could hear everything. Um, yeah, so the guys got started around like 7:45, which is pretty typical for them. And they started with your namesake of the pod. Uh, you gotta you gotta start. You gotta know that you're
So
there. So it was good, real good start, real good start.
Dude,
nice.
that's awesome. If anyone hasn't just kind of checked out a lot of the pictures of these venues, go on Almanac.
Mhm.
Shout out to those guys again for putting this site together. But you can see images of this, and it's a really cool one of the Uber Eats Music Hall. Kind of probably what Chris was talking about, a side shot, so you get to see kind of the full venue going on there, and you're kind of beside the band. So that's really really cool, and I'm glad that the acoustics were good because I was kind of wondering with the way that ceiling kind of looked in there, and glad to hear that because then it can truly live up to its name as a music hall.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, pretty
Yeah, it
cool.
looks really cool.
Yeah,
You got some nice rarities there too. Unexpected again and again, aka Bob Law, as we always refer to it as. I always curious when that one pops up. I just wonder what grabs Dave's attention with that one. We've seen it randomly a few
Yeah,
times, and it's like, what?
yeah. They always sound great on it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's never a bad thing when it pops up.
no, definitely not. And neither is Big Eyed Fish in
Uh,
the bartender, fish tender. That had to have been a highlight.
yeah, it absolutely was. I hadn't seen Bartender, I think, in 10 years.
Oh
Um,
wow!
oh,
it was
Cheers to that.
was climbing my list, and Jeff Coffin he knocks it out of the park every time.
you had to go to
Mhm.
Germany to get it. Oh my god,
Yeah, but hey,
that's hilarious.
right?
No, but that's awesome. This was a really good bartender too. There were only two of the tour, and both of them were very good. I really hope that means that they're gonna want to take it out for a couple of rides this summer, especially Jacksonville, not Raleigh or anything like that, but definitely Jacksonville. And on the Again and Again, that's always a song that I'm kind of like, okay, again on when I look at it on paper. But like
Mhm.
you said, Chris, it's really good. Like every time. And it's just I feel like they just hit it live. So yeah, I'm really really good about that open and run there. It looks good.
Yeah, it was fun. And then you get, I think it was a couple of the newer songs. I mean, no, Monsters was later, but Madman's Eyes. It in a venue like that, it's haunting almost. You could really feel the bass kick in, and Buddy's intro to that song is just top notch.
That'd be a great one to
Yeah.
see in a small venue. Really jealous of that one. Yeah, after that, Ocean and the Butterfly, and then this run here, I think is pretty nice. Lionel Graves, Break Free, So Damn Lucky, and Ditch, an underrated
Hmm.
DMB tune, second of the tour. And
Definitely.
yeah, do you have a favorite of that group? I feel like Lionel Graves, Break Free back to back is pretty
Yeah.
strong.
I mean, you can brush through Ocean and the Butterfly, but that one hits home for me. I mean, it reminds me of my dog
Ooh.
time. So,
Oh,
um,
nice.
it live, so it was a really special moment for me and my wife. So that was
Oh,
really
that's
great.
great.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the incredible run. And Graves, I mean, can never complain about a Graves. I thought they were kind of holding back a little bit. I don't know if I just had to nitpick a little bit. I don't typically, but they skipped the reprise, and Tim was shredding, doing alien stuff as usual. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it wasn't my favorite line in our graves.
Hmm.
Well, that is a shame. That Liner Graves normally hits, but
Mm.
that's a shame. But yeah, I still think that that's pretty solid run. I would think, and then you've got the So Damn Lucky, and Nolan said the last ditch of the tour, only two over there. Jimmy
Mhm.
Thing into Brick House, which is I want to know your thoughts on that. Are you a Jimmy into a cover fan, or are you a Jimmy Thing on its own fan? No fan at all. What we got here?
So I think it was Dave and Carter talking back right before this song. He said, if someone had to ask me why I play the song, he says, because. Said Carter said that they were still trying to learn it. So I don't know, but because they seem to play it a lot, but I enjoy it. And it's a time, you can't complain. Everybody gets their feature. I think that's why they bring it out is they showcase everybody in the band, and they seem to love it. So
For sure. I mean, it's a
Absolutely.
staple. And then the shorter ones too are, I think, even better. Like this one's 12 minutes. That's not too long. It's
and then
only
you
like
get
a minute more
out.
than So Damn Lucky. So I like the shorter Jimmys for sure.
I agree. And Brick House is a fun song too. Rashawn
Yeah.
Ross get his pipes out, and uh, it's a cool change from year to year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
And
actually hadn't played it in several shows until that one
mhm.
as well. But this one, shout out to SiriusXM. They broadcast this one actually later on, so they've
Mhm.
released this one since the show. And that I actually did hear that little intro to Jimmy the other day, and I was like, "Oh, what is this one? Oh, it says Berlin." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Um, but yeah, then Great Monsters. I felt like Monsters Rooftop right before they throw us some tour debut bones to close out the set with "What Would You Say? Where Are You Going? Stay?" And then you had Watchtower. How about that closing run from Monsters on down? What'd you think of that?
Yeah, really cool closer. A lot of great energy. Um, what would you say is, yeah, you can't go wrong there. And where you going was a little out of place. It's a fun song, but it brought it down a little bit. But you bring it back up every time to close. So it was great. I can't complain. It's seeing your favorite band in a foreign country. I'll take literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
And
that's
the energy of those songs too. I mean, that might have been why they needed Where Are You Going from Jimmy Monsters Rooftop. What would you say? And then Stay Watchtower, kind of sandwiching that. And then that's a lot. I also thought it was cool they played Singing from the Windows. I kind of thought it might be debuted in Italy, but as that was the inspiration for it. But interesting. I'm curious, did Dave say anything before or after Singing from the Windows?
No, his standard, typical. We went through a
Mhm.
pandemic. This is a song I wrote, but
Yeah.
still absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Everyone was the crowd was very attentive. I'd say from watching some of the shows online and everything like that, but being in person, you can really tell that everyone's listening and everyone
Mm.
kind of it's very different from your typical U.S. tour,
The
but
crowds were attentive and polite, you'd say, you think?
yeah, they really just they wanted to hear everything they had to give. So
Wow,
I
that's amazing. I I love that because 'cause I'd heard other reports, not from this show, but just in general, um, that, like, the Americans were loud and obnoxious and whatever, I will call back to earlier in the episode, though, to seeing Noah Khan, fellow
Mm,
New Englander, in Charlotte last weekend. Worst part of the show were the chompers. There were so many people just having s just loud, drunk conversations, and we moved, like, several times just to get away from people. We're like,
yeah,
"Dude, he's impossible to see live. I'm gonna enjoy this. I don't need to hear whatever frat combos are going on. But I'm glad to hear they were attentive
Yeah,
in Europe because
yeah. I mean,
that
maybe
makes me happy. I bet the band loved that too.
they definitely did. They were feeding off the energy. You could tell. Maybe it was just where we were sitting. We were definitely up from the general like admission, but you could between songs you could actually hear them talking on stage and everything like that. So it was different.
Oh
Very,
wow,
That is very
that's
different. That is
awesome.
so cool. But what I really want to know is how is this 22, nearly 23-minute two step?
uh, blew us away. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, there's so much to say about this band and how they can put a song like that together every time that they play it. It hits every time. It seems like they're on it. They've been playing it for 30 something years. So, um, Carter Beauford is an absolute general up there. He commands his troops, goes up and delivers every single time, and it's no different in this song. You to close this one, it goes right through you every time he slams on the bass drum. It's incredible. So yeah, we had a good time with that one. It was a hell of a way to finish that show.
General Beauford. I love that.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna call him from now on.
That is actually, yes, that is corner of Gray Street now, copyright,
All right.
General Beaufort,
Yeah.
and
Kudos.
shirts
Shout
coming
out
to you
Chris.
very soon.
Great nickname.
I'm happy to contribute, guys. That's all.
That is awesome. Oh man. All right. So that was the show. Seal it up for us, Chris. So wrap it up with a nice tight bow. Let us know, like, how did you feel overall? You got to see your. I would assume it was just that one show, correct? And then y'all
Yeah,
did y'all hang out and then headed home?
yeah. So we've met a couple people along the way. Um, the fans were out, and a lot of people were kind of stringing some shows together. We could only get that one in, but it was worth it. We had such a blast. Like I said, Berlin's a vibe. I would go back there anytime. Suggest that city to anybody. Um, the cuisine is incredible too. We had some really great meals, and post show street meat is where it's at. And that,
Street meat.
oh yeah, you get street
Yeah.
meat. Yeah, just walk along,
Man.
vendors open, everything like that after the show. So we had the show didn't end there. There's a lot and all about the street, and it was fun. And never miss a Sunday show, right?
That's right. That
That's a
is
fact.
awesome. All right, before we let you get out of here, which thanks again, obviously, for joining. Where are you going to be headed this summer if you guys are going to head to any shows? So where can people run into the next Shop Champ?
Well, you can meet me out at the parking lots in Mansfield. That's our home base. I've seen quite a few shows there now, and doing one show this year. Couldn't make SPAC happen this year, but we're gonna make it back out there too. So we're gonna have the whole crew out, and you guys are more than welcome up in our neck of the woods.
That's epic. I love going to shows at Mansfield. Also, you have some pretty nice posters there in your background. Digging
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, Germany one there too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let's go.
Sweet.
That's
Was it
awesome.
hard to get posters over there?
No, we walked right in. There was
Oh, nice.
there was hardly a line for anything. When I
Wow.
did my back walk for So Damn Lucky, I was in it before Tim started his solo.
Yeah.
So
God, us
Wow.
Americans, we ruin everything. Got lines for all that stuff.
Everything.
Make poster lines just impossible.
it's
Oh,
worth it.
man. Well, I'm glad you had a great time, man. I feel compelled now to
Absolutely. You
make
got
the trek next time.
well, another 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
God. Oh, man. Whenever the next album comes out, hopefully it's not that long.
Yeah.
Dude, you are the man. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, Chris. Again, and yeah, if you guys want to check Chris out, just see what his life's about a little bit. I think he's at, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Future Chop Champ there on Instagram.
That's me.
He is the man.
Let's go.
He has been very, very kind to us, so we do appreciate that, Chris. And glad you got to go. And hopefully, you run into some good fans this summer. And who knows? We hope to run into you at some point too.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be rocking the T-shirt this year, guys. So,
Yeah.
I'll be representing. And no, thank you so much for letting me come on. It's been a blast. Like I said, you guys do some great work. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
yeah, of course.
I appreciate Chris joining us to talk about his Berlin experience. Man, we got to go to Europe sometime. Cogs does Europe. Let's make it happen. Buy some merch so we can go to Europe. Next up was Prague. And Prague had a strong showing from the boys, especially at the start. Pig opener. Woo! First of the tour. That's amazing. And then this just sandwich right here. Pig When the World Ends and The Dreaming Tree. Pig and Tree tour debuts. Man, that is some heat to start things off, Bruce. The rest of it, a little standard. Middle gets a little par for the course, I'd say. Then you get Virginia triplets, too much Virginia triplet Stairleaf Crush. Everyday typical What You Are.
Ooh.
Get the Everyday and What You Are tour debuts, the only What You Are of the Euro tour.
Oh,
Then Rye Whiskey Granny Shake Me encore. But that typical What You Are, that ending run, last half of the show, strong.
it was very strong. I'm really hoping to see What You Are this summer, by the way. Or in a couple of weeks, actually, when they come down here. I am I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of that song and I've only seen it, I think, once.
same. We've both only seen it once. Seville
Ridiculous.
2010.
Yeah. Oh,
Come on, Dave.
the thumbs up. But the start, I threw my phone at the wall because they got a pig and Dreaming Tree in the first three
Oh,
songs, and that's just perfection. I mean, I was so mad, but not really. I was pretty pumped. That's freaking awesome. That What You
yeah.
Are, by the way, was the first time that it was played as a closer since May of 2013, which is
What?
just ridiculous. That was 11 freaking years ago. They did it at SPAC and they closed the set with What You Are, and yeah, then
So
didn't do
sick
it
of
again for
SPAC.
11 years.
So glad
Yeah, but
SPAC
that's
got it.
such a good. I feel like that's such a good closer. What are they
Yeah,
doing?
it is. I'm kidding.
Um, yeah, but this was their first time at that venue in Prague, so that's pretty cool. It looked like it was a pretty unique looking, or I guess European kind of small venue. 5,000, I think, was the capacity, so not as small as some of them, but just looked pretty cool. All of these, I feel like every time I look at one of the pictures, I'm like, that looks awesome. I'd love to just basically do the entire tour. That would have been cool. But Nolan, right after that, move over from Czech Republic the very next night over in Vienna, Austria. At I'm not going to even pretend like I can pronounce the name of the venue. I'm just going to go for gasometer, which is the very last word.
The
in that
gasometer.
venue. The gasometer, and that place looked very kind of tight and tiny as well. But 4,200 was capacity there. Nolan, run us through this show, and I thought it was a pretty cool one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, some great stuff in here. Well, 2 hour and 20-minute show. Well, getting extended a little bit. Warehouse, Old Dirt Hill, Pantala, Rapunzel. Again and again, Idea of You, Madman's All You Wanted Was Tomorrow. You Never Know. Gravedigger, Lie in Our Graves. Jimmy Brickhouse, Break Free. Don't Drink the Water. Nice cool down here. Looking for a Vein. Come On, Come On. Then Every Day into Ants and a Some Devil. Crash Into Me encore. That is awesome. 4 Crash Into Me's on the Euro Tour. And Dave said last year that he wasn't going to play that song much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he just waited to
Fishy.
play it over there in Europe, I guess. Yeah, solid
And
show, I
Charleston last
think.
year.
What's that?
And we saw it last year too.
Yeah.
They played a lot last summer.
Yeah, we did, and we will hopefully see it again because I really like it. And as a closer, kind of was super interesting. I'm sure the crowd was a little bit confused. Maybe I'm not sure the Austrian crowd what they may have been like. It depends on how many Americans were there, and they were probably super confused. But um, pretty awesome. We love, obviously rare stuff like that, just things that, are kind of sometimes out of place. Warehouse opener doesn't happen a ton. And then the crash closer. I
Yeah.
am a little bit intrigued of what improv intro on warehouse means there. So maybe we'll get to hear that and check that one out. But solid show there overall, Nolan. And then we have to head over to Italy,
Yeah.
Asago, Italy, which is right outside of Milan. So basically,
Mhm.
Milan, Italy. There, third show at the Mediolanum, I guess, Forum,
Nice.
and
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, I think another solid show here. You had Pig opening, Sam Cop, Walk Around the Moon, Funny, Looking for a Vein, Madman, Stolen Away on 55th and 3rd. Hello, have you heard of those songs being early in the show? We said that was very, very common for Europe. Then you had the second only thing of the tour, only the second You and Me of the tour, which is weird.
Shocking.
And then, that is shocking. And then a beast, the baddest, the best, Steak Up mid set right here. Tour debut, the only one of the tour, nearly 23 minutes long, Nolan, and it is very tasty.
Yeah, it was a beast. I wonder what brought out the Seek Up in Milan. These
Yeah.
are the things, if the band came on the pod, we would ask, what's the inspiration? Why did you see somebody? Did someone say something to you? If I run into you and say Monkey Man, does that mean you're going to play it in Raleigh? That's the hard hitting questions we need to ask. Seek Up, Triplets, Break Free, Crush, Virginia in the Rain, Rooftop, Pantala, Rapunzel, Nice Run. Here on out, tour debut. Bruce, why don't you hit me with that stat about Here on Out that is mind
Oh,
blowing?
yeah. I thought, I would have never guessed. This has not been played since when we were at the Gorge in 2021. Um, Absolutely bonkers. I figured it was played quite a few times last summer, if you would have asked me, to be honest.
Yeah, I was surprised. That's a nice E1 spot there from Dave. And then, of course, Singing from the Windows, which we just talked about from the Berlin show. But yeah, figured this would get a play somewhere in Italy. Very fitting for that song, Watchtower to close. Bruce, pretty solid stuff right there. And we're going to jump to the Nelson Mandela Forum,
Ooh.
Florence, Italy. And Florence, cannot say enough good things about Florence. I have not seen a show there. Phenomenal city. You throw a show on top of it, man, that's going to be a big time trip. But man, I like this show a lot too. Bruce, When the World Ends to open, The Stone and Idea View, 7 tour debut, 41, Ocean of the Butterfly, Madman's Eyes, Boa tour debut, Monsters, and a Grace tour debut.
Oh,
Which
that
was,
little run is nice.
yeah, one of 2 Grace's Gone's on the Euro tour, Bruce.
What?
It's an interesting set.
Yeah. Best of What's Around Monsters, Grace is Gone is fantastic. I really
Mhm.
like that. Then you get a couple of S songs of Spaceman So Damn Lucky, Busted Stuff, only the second one, and the last one of the tour as well. So it's at least good that they didn't completely
Yeah,
abandon that song, so to
around.
say. So we still have a shot this year, man. We still have a shot at Busted Stuff. We will see. Space Between Nancy's, random a little bit. Everyday Ants. So Everyday and Ants, I'm telling you, that
Nice
right at
pairing
the
there.
end, yeah, that pairing is apparently just very, very popular for the guys. You'll
Mhm.
see that pop up throughout this tour. And then you had Some Devil and Pantala Nagapampa into, obviously, Rapunzel. No, Oh, wait. Dave decided to play something different. He went for two-step. Oh, man. When I saw that, I was like, typo. Had to be. What is happening? That is awesome. I couldn't believe it, Nolan.
I know. First time Pantala into two-step has happened. And I gotta say, is that not right?
Oh, no, I was just shaking my head like,
Oh,
gosh,
don't you
that's
shake your head at
unreal.
me.
Like,
Don't shake your head at me.
it was mind
What
blown.
you're gonna shake your head at me now because I'll say Pantala into two-step on 420, way cooler than anything Fish did at the Sphere on that day. So nice try, Trey. Dave one-upped you again.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm done with that joke.
Okay.
Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I won't. I won't.
no. Don't try and defend Fish. We get it. We get it, dude. We get it. We're gonna jump. No, you're done. We're gonna jump to London
No, I
now.
need to hear your reaction to Pantala into two-step. Like, what did you think of the actual segue?
What did I think of the actual segue? I don't know if it was an actual segue.
Ooh.
Hot take. I think there was a pause. I don't think you can just throw the arrow on it just because it always goes into Rapunzel.
Love this hot take. I'm
I
kind of
think
with you.
maybe Buddy could have been playing some notes and it could have just gone into it. Or David. I
So
don't know.
yeah, something could have happened. They did a little pause there. I think Dave was just a little bit like, "Am I actually gonna do this? I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing here. This is too awesome, honestly, for me to even do." But hopefully, they do a little bit more of that, throwing
He just got too
Pantala into
excited.
something different.
He wanted to make sure he got it right.
Yeah, he's like, "Fingers right place. This is two
Yeah.
step. Does it go?" But no, it was really awesome. Hopefully, they continue to play around with Pantala because I mean, they could do a lot of stuff with that there. Ending on a D chord, they could go into a bunch of different other things just for the hell of it,
Mhm.
even if it doesn't necessarily flow from D. Just open ended, do it. All right, do it. Speaking of being doing it, we're going to do it and shift on over to another guest.
Yes, we are.
There he
Max.
is.
How we
Great
doing?
friend of the pod, Greensboro native, Mr. Duke himself. Man.
I don't know about that, but we do love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. I was thinking about you
This
guys.
is
How
like,
are you? How are we doing from Greensboro, North Carolina?
oh, we are great, man. Better now that you are on here. This is like the triumvirate, the GDS Duke just trio.
It's a pleasure. You know, I was thinking about it today, guys, and it hit me. My very first tickets to a show, Freddie Johnson's dad gave them to me.
What?
And so for those who don't know, Freddie Johnson, one of the best high school basketball coaches out there, played for him, and his dad came up to me and he said, Max, there's this hot new band coming through the Coliseum. I have seats. I don't care to see it. Would you like to go? And I lost my mind.
Wow, what year was that?
That was the '98 show when they opened up with Seek Up and Bella was there and they brought out the Flectones and I will put my hands up and say I didn't appreciate it back then. I would love to go back in time, guys. Like,
I think Bruce is gonna leave. Bruce is done.
So
wow,
yeah.
that is
that's awesome.
so epic. Wow! Shout out to Coach Johnson, who got to give him his props. He, I think, just moved into 6th all-time winningest high school basketball coach. So past Bob Hurley. If the Hoop fans are out there, that's a big deal. Big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Max was in London, Royal Albert Hall. It looked incredible. You sent us a lot of great video and photos that we got to use on the socials. So thank you so much for being a frequent Cogs contributor. How was it?
Happy to do it. Yeah, guys, that was pretty incredible. It was incredible for me, my wife Cameron, and I. We were there. We were actually I bought the tickets in September. I happened to be over for business when the warehouse tickets opened, so I was able to click in early on. And I said to Cam, like, let's see if this works, because Royal Albert Hall was a bucket list, just period. And we lived there. I lived there for almost 4 or 5 years, and somehow this idiot didn't make it to Royal Albert Hall. So we made it happen. It coincided with our 7th anniversary. That was pretty sweet. And
Ooh,
Happy anniversary.
congrats.
yeah, that was kind of fun. And Royal Albert Hall it's one of these special places. You talk about me as a Duke guy and, loving Cameron Indoor Stadium. I think, I'm a Yankees fan and I love Fenway. It's just a weird thing. And I'd like to think that people think the same of Cameron. You walk into Royal Albert Hall and you feel it. It doesn't matter what's going to go on stage that night. We went in early on before night one because we ran into some fans at the Tower of London. We're over there at a gift shop buying something for her sister-in-law, and they mentioned going for a tour and trying to catch sound check. And I'm like, well, there's no way you can catch sound check, but let's give it a go. So we did. And that set the tone. And I, we walked in and we were the last folks to show up to the tour. And they asked us if we were from Virginia because everybody else was from Virginia and was there for the shows. And apparently we DMB fans were just crushing them those couple days. And you just got this feeling. And we saw some people on our flight from Boston over. I mean, there was just this vibe that was happening, and you knew something special was going to happen and go on there. So, Royal Albert Hall, they do 309 events a year. I thought that was something kind of crazy. You talk about the organ being special. The organist only gets a chance to practice between the hours of like 3 and 4:30 after load out and before load in for the next day. I mean, there's just some crazy stuff going on there, and we can get into it. I heard, Bruce, I know you like to check out on the seating, the capacity and stuff, and I'm a geek like that too. And I raised my hand and asked, and at that point, I couldn't tell if they were taking the seats out of the floor or not. It wasn't a pit; they left the seats in. So with seats in, it's about 5,200, and they can push it up to 6,000 with the seats out, and they call it the arena, being freestanding. So it was special. And I know you want to get into night one, but I'll hint at night one. As they walked on stage, Dave stopped Buddy and pointed up and was like, look, this is, I said something like, this is cool, or something, if you can read lips. There was a moment where those guys were in awe of what was going on in the place that they were in.
It looks so cool. Didn't really know too much about this place before. Obviously, they were going to go play there, so it just just one of those hidden gems for me, myself at least, and obviously much more well known to people who are more cultured than me. But that it just looked so cool. You guys had a really cool spot too. Talk a little bit about where y'all were seated for the first night.
Yeah, we did have a cool spot. So we were seated stage left, and hey, we were in row 11. We were all the way to the end of the row, almost directly behind the guy's mixing board there. And the way that the people came in, like, we couldn't see down into it. But what was wild, and I don't know if you caught it, I think I sent a quick video clip of from Funny, and because to me it was almost like a train wreck. It came close that night. But what was wild is that they opened that night, and sorry, but on One Sweet World, and I could hear Carter's hi-hat. I heard it here, not through the system, and it was the natural sound of the cymbals based on, I guess, our angle to the stage. And so we were basically, Bruce, you're exactly right. I think we were even with Dave as we looked down and kind of parallel to him. We've had similar seats in other arenas, but we were never that close, and we were in the 11th row. The people on the front row basically had their feet on the stage. I mean, it was, I think for the band, I think what took them back was how intimate everything was and compact right around the stage. But then as they looked out, you're in this building that's they told us in the tour that it's sort of modeled after the Roman Colosseums, and it goes to the sky like really fast. And I think that something that happened as they walked on stage was that they were hit with a wall of sound. It wasn't just coming up from the ground, so to speak. And I was trying to think about places that they typically go where they react to stuff like that. And like SPAC comes to mind, where the balcony is there, and I've never been there but want to go, another bucket list. And where you guys have been, the Gorge, I kind of imagine the way that it goes up sort of vertically. And you were talking about when you were standing there, how much it hurt your legs and stuff. Yeah, I kind of imagine that sound. That's one of the few places they actually get sound from all angles of the crowd, and I think they reacted to it in a big way. But
It seems like it. I
we
mean,
felt lucky. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it seemed like they rewarded you guys too for being there and making the trek, especially you, because you'd been chasing Dreaming Tree and you got it.
Got it. Second song of the night, and I lost my mind.
As you should have.
Cameron looked at me at my reaction, and I think I think there were 2 times, one on night 1 and one on night 2, where she looked at me and she's kind of like, "I've never seen you this happy," and I birthed 3 children, and I'm like, yeah,
sorry.
I love you too.
Dreaming Tree.
By the way.
That was.
Oh man, well, yeah. What did you think of Dreaming Tree?
They nailed it. I'm trying to think about the where I fell in love with it. In addition to the studio album, it was one of the live recordings where they just really go for it. And I feel like what I love on it is how much you hear. I love listening to Stefan on that song and how he will just sort of roll through the whole thing, and it gets a little bit funky at points. And I'd listen to it over and over and over again. I hope to get it again. Not sure I will, but that's okay. I mean, so rare. I feel like, did you guys get it last year?
2022.
Yeah, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So random.
Yeah.
Who knows why it pops up when it does, but that's a great place to finally catch that one. Man.
Insane.
Yeah,
Insane.
jealous. I had one question before we get going. Was the crowd standing the whole time?
Great question.
What was that like?
Actually, I wrote, yeah. It's a great question, because I think especially the Brits and European crowds, they're known for their festivals. Like, people go bananas. And if you see shows in little small theaters where there are no seats, like, they are going crazy. The last time we saw the full band, I think it was 2015, we saw them in almost like a basketball arena called the O2. And if you weren't on the floor, the crowd was seated. And where we were, we could see the entire place. And for almost the entire show, people were standing and dancing and into it. I think there was a small pocket that kind of sat, but that was different. And Dave made a couple comments. He made a couple comments that, the European crowd in between songs or right after songs, they're not as rambunctious as I think we are in North America, at least. And I think this crowd was probably like that in terms of, going bananas at times, but not like they're used to. And he made a couple comments. There was also a couple interesting moments just in terms of, Bruce, talking about where we were seated. We could look right at we were looking as the guys as they were trying to adjust their inner ear. What do they call it? IEMs. I can't remember what the M is. But
in-ear monitor.
Inner ear monitor. Thank you. And Dave was really struggling at points. And then he kept making comments throughout the show that he hoped that we could hear okay. And so it made me think like they were working out some stuff. And Royal Albert Hall, it turns out, in the early years, like, this place is probably older than our country, but I should know when it was actually built. But in the early years, it was horrible in terms of audio and in terms of acoustics, and not until the 60s when they put in those mushrooms. If you saw from some of the pictures, you could see that it turns into a work of art, really, when the light's flashing off the ceilings. And they then redid that in 2001, and the folks were saying that the acoustics are back. They're like in great shape. And I thought that was interesting. And it seemed like there were a couple times throughout night one where, as good of a show as it was, you could tell that guys were having to work a little harder, and there were some kinks. I think at one point it was at the end of funny the way it was, funny the way it was, funny the way it is that Tim's Red Gibson like freaked out on him. He had to unplug it, take it back. Craig had to come out, rework his rig. I mean, some weird stuff was going on, and so it was that was all kind of interesting stuff there.
Wow. Huh. I wonder what was going on with that. Royal Albert Hall was opened by Queen Victoria in 1871.
Okay.
Cool.
So,
Here we go.
yeah. And over its 153-year history, the hall has hosted people from various fields, including meetings held by suffragettes, speeches from Winston Churchill, Charles de Gaulle, Albert Einstein, fights by Lennox Lewis, an exhibition bout by Muhammad Ali. And then my first introduction to Royal Albert Hall was when Cream live at Royal Albert Hall came out back when I was in high school. Vividly remember listening to Clapton dominate that. Yeah, plenty of legends have played there now. DMB has. Max, what were some other highlights for you from night one?
Night one. Hey, I love Boa. Boa came on. Sadly, I had taken a quick break during Virginia in the Rain, and I heard it get going from the hall, and sort of lost my mind. And because that's always a great moment, and I personally can't remember that many of those happening. Which leads me to another interesting thing about Royal Albert Hall. They require an interval. It's the reason Dave actually opened with this on night one when he was introducing Miles, what's his name? Miles Smith. And they force the bands to have what they call an interval, an intermission. And so in order to accomplish that, I guess, management team said, we'll get an opening act. And that's how they solved the problem. The issue for all of us is that if you went to a bar that you thought was open after the interval, it was closed. They used that as a moment to push all their F&B out, and then they reduce the number of staff and sort of consolidate you to different bars. And I don't think they were used to a crowd like ours, where there are going to be moments where the bars and the bathrooms are going to get hit real hard, and they needed to be ready for those moments. And so that was kind of interesting. I think the arena adjusted on night two. It was pretty seamless. There's also a champagne bar that's open before the show, which Cameron and I definitely hit on night two. That was sort of, never thought we'd be drinking champagne before a Dave show, but
that's awesome.
Anyway, what were the highlight? What was the other? From night one, what sticks out? It was I always love Crush. So looking down, go from Best of What's Around through Walk Around the Moon, the triplets, and then into Crush, and it was beautiful and perfect. And I think for Cameron and me, that's our song when we're there live. And for some reason, Touch All the Wood I Can Find, I think we tend to get it, and it's ridiculous, and we feel so lucky. The next one, So Damn Lucky happened, and then the moment for me that even the Dreaming Tree, Nolan, you asked me about that. For me, it was American Baby Intro, because I just think the way they brought that song back, it is gorgeous and powerful, and it blew that crowd away. I mean, there were a lot of folks that traveled, but there were more in the crowd who live there, and they don't get to experience this stuff, and they don't probably listen to you guys, I'm sorry to say. They don't know what's coming. And when that hit, I was taken back, and that was the second moment that night where Cameron was like, come on, really? I turned to the lady on my left, and she was in tears, and it was her first American Baby Intro. And she was there on her own, and I just gave her a big hug, because I was like, you saw me do that almost in tears with Dreaming Tree, and and that was a moment I don't think I'll forget. That was incredibly powerful. Dave was very careful with his vocals. He worked the mic really well. He was through the screams. He was pulling back. I mean, that felt like a work of art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out quickly to that Crush intro and Stefan for playing Blackbird in the intro there. I did get to see that on the stream or something. I was like, oh yes. So
Yeah.
good shout out there by Fonz. That was very apropos. I did want to ask. So you guys got a nice little guest spot. One of I think the only ones of the entire Euro tour coming up here with Satellite and Jimmy thing. Robin Ford on electric guitar guesting. Some may know from some of his rock or jazz hits from years past. I think he played with Miles Davis even. But what was that like? Because I was fairly unfamiliar with him, and did he get a pop over there, or were people kind of like, huh, who?
It was a mixed bag, and Dave addressed it with, I've heard him do this before with a couple of people where he says there's some of you who know of this person, and then there are others who don't, but you actually do, kind of thing, where you've heard him all the time. You've heard him everywhere. You've all heard him. And that was in between songs, because he came out and did Satellite and then went into Jimmy thing. And so there was definitely some buzz around who might be coming on stage. And that was actually in the moment when they were also trying to figure out Tim's rig. So there was a lot of kind of commotion at that point. And I think for those of us who were really looking into what was going on, I was confused. I'll tell you, you knew somebody was coming, and I was kind of hoping it was Lawler, but just because I love the man and I think it'd be great if he came on stage, but he'd probably say, I had no business doing that with Robin coming out. And as soon as Robin got going, you knew there was something really cool and really special. And I think the crowd really appreciated it as they went into Satellite. The last time I saw Satellite, John Durst came on stage. It was in Charlottesville. And the way that Robin played throughout it felt a little bit how John approaches Satellite, just so delicately and sort of just working it. And it was the band, you could tell, were in awe. And Dave mentioned it several times in between songs about how kind of special that was and how special it is to have him on stage. And I think that was pretty cool moment.
So if you want to see a guest on Satellite, go to a show with Max.
Come on.
Yeah. That's the best kind of Satellite. I love a guest on Satellite.
That works.
Yeah,
it does work. But then Jimmy thing, there was an interesting moment there too, where I think, there was a lot of orchestration going on, what wasn't being said, and we didn't know. I read from the website that they attempt to end the shows around 11:05 is what they were calling for. Seems like it was a harder, I don't think it was a curfew, but it was sort of a harder time than I think the band expected, which is why, you're probably going to note it looked like they cut a couple songs. And in Jimmy thing, they were actively working through who was going to solo and what the cycles, sort of the cycle was going to be on the solos. And part of that was looping in Robin, but the other part was whether the horns were even going to come in or not. And mid song, you saw Dave look at Rashawn, and Rashawn's like, we got to do it. And so he did. And you could tell there was a moment where Dave didn't really want the horns. And Rashawn at the end, Dave kind of came over and was like, you were right. But Dave absolutely ended the song and made it very clear we're not moving on to something else. And now looking back, as they came out, he didn't do a solo that night and went straight for it in the encore. That was the moment where I think he was very aware of the time, and he had to get that show moving and done and out of there. And that was sort of interesting. And I checked some of the song timings, and they weren't short, but there was no loafing around after they got going on Jimmy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Typical being cut kind of stinks, but solid show overall. First night, obviously. But I'm really curious to hear about night 2.
Coming out of night 1, we didn't think it could get better. I mean, that's how the whole crowd felt. It was just a magical
Naivete.
experience, and you're looking around, and you're like, "Oh my, that was amazing!" And yeah, it happened.
So night 2 was better.
It happened.
Why was night 2 better?
You know, I think the guys had a better feel for the space they were in. They were even more excited to get back there. They knew that the crowd appreciated who they are, what they're doing, um, and the songs that are out there and could be played. And I think as well, they, look, Dave writes the sets earlier on, but I think in terms of energy in the room, it'd be hard not to feed off of the buzz that was in the room before that show started. Like it reminded me, Nolan, you talk about Duke and getting to a Duke Carolina game in Cameron, and you just walk in and there's just this buzz everywhere, and it's palpable, and that was the feeling inside of Royal Albert Hall that night. And
oh wow,
I'd like to think the guys fed off of that, and you know, hoping to, and so the quick anecdote, I quickly met the guy behind us. He's from California, and he was thrilled about the night before, and said, we're in for a dud. And I said, I was like, I really hope not, but I think, yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. I just like to think they're going to come out and just blow us away tonight because they're so excited. And they open, and we turned around and just looked at each other, and he says, who knows? And then a couple songs later, after Bruce's favorite, and he looked at me and he goes, okay, it's a draw if they stop now. And we didn't know what was coming.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then Buddy must have heard him, because then he decided to go play the organ.
Buddy had to go do that. That was incredible. We on the tour, the organ was brought up, and we were talking about practice time and stuff. And is there any chance that a song, a band member could go play? And the guy was like, I don't think the guy had a clue who the band is. And he said, nope, that just doesn't happen here. Wow. And so, I mean, and I pinged, I think there were a couple people on Instagram that I was pinging back and forth, and they were also on tours, and they kind of poked around on that too and got the same reaction. But turns out it looked like on Instagram, Buddy posted a quick snapshot from a quick video from Soundcheck where he said, I think we're going to try to play this thing. Who knows? And it was clear that he did, and got a little rehearsal in. Yeah.
That is so epic.
That was incredible, guys. I mean, just, looking through it, we're coming off the stone, and then there's Looking for Vain kind of dips a little bit, and then again gets the crowd going. And then Buddy's just gone. And I started losing my mind, because I'm like, this has to be the case. And if not, if he's got a problem, then we're just going to hope that he's finding his way up there. And he started into it, and the place went bananas. And that was also an interesting moment for a European crowd versus ours, where we Americans, we're loud and brash, and we just start going nuts. And the Europeans, I was sitting next to a German, and she's like, shh, we're trying to hear the music, kind of thing. Respect the music. And she's right. And I'd like to think we're right, where it was just a moment where all of us as DMB fans were, it was, it was the winning shot to the basketball game. Never thought that would happen. And that's the only place it could happen, it seems. And it happened. Maybe Radio City. I don't know. There's a shout out. Could the guys go do that?
We need to get them back there.
That'd be fun.
That was so cool, and it sounded great. Obviously, with them playing Madman's Eyes the night before, you're probably thinking like, oh, well, maybe they're gonna fake here. Sometimes it's hard to remember when you're at the show. Like, oh, did they play it? Like, what would they do? They're gonna play it again. And going into Minarets was super, super awesome. I hope they do that stuff again this summer. Our Concerts on the Corner began with that, folks. Okay. So if you haven't checked that out, check out Best of Summer 2023 Concerts on the Corner. We released it last fall, and we started that show with Madman's Fake into Minarets because it was so damn good. And here they go, they take it across the pond because, well, they know where their bread is buttered, and it's buttered and playing awesome shit like that.
So good. You probably heard me on the video where I'm losing my mind, and I'm like, I'd listen to Madman's 2 nights in a row just to get the organ, and then it clicks for me about 20 seconds later. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get something really cool. And Minarets is my son Maxwell's favorite song, and so
nice.
him and I like lost our minds, and that was another great moment for us. And then you guys talk about Crash and how it's fairly rare these days, and I don't know when the last time is I've heard it. When he started to play the first chord, it felt comforting. Like something weird about that song, like takes us all back to the late 90s somehow. Like I don't know what it is. It's just, that was pretty cool. And yet for me, another highlight was Lie in Our Graves. And Lie in Our Graves, like, you couldn't believe that happened. And then you get to the end, and for there's incredible solos throughout. Like they're killing it, guys. But then Buddy, with just the delicate piano dance that he does at the end of this song now, is dumb. I mean, if you listen carefully, it's just kind of like, holy cow, what is this guy doing? And the other guys are reacting to it. I mean, it's pretty cool. And so it was interesting just to look at that set. I mean, Lie in Our Graves, Monsters was kind of a quiet moment. Space Between was wonderful, yet I forgot that they played it because of what was to come. And 41 and Drunken Soldier, like, love that thing. I mean,
yeah. And then they shout out David Bowie.
What's that?
Then they shout out David Bowie.
Yes.
A little tribute there. I mean, that you can really tell Dave like put some thought into the set list, and I always think of that.
Yeah.
Great call.
It's interesting.
It's only the second of the tour.
Yeah. And Bruce, you were asking about the pop for Robin Ford. The pop happened on Let's Dance. As soon as they started, that crowd knew it and celebrated it. I mean, they were singing loud, probably only second to at the end of Stone. And the Stone, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it, because the way it sounds in that arena, oh my goodness, it was cool. And it was also interesting because that crowd clearly didn't know how the end goes these days, and actually started applauding when Carter was trying to get people going. And but going back, that was another great moment. But Let's Dance just really got a pop. And
these D&B fans, they love those covers. They pop for that.
Yeah.
That Stone was some of the best work by Jeff and a Stone in a long time. That was really, really good. That was one of my favorites. I'm glad you called that back out, because I'd almost forgotten about how good that was. That was a fun listen.
It was super cool. And then it was, for me, in the angle that I was, where we were sitting, we were stage left again, but a little further back and lower, and we could look right at Carter. And Carter does, I mean, he's a wizard. He does some stuff that doesn't make any sense on that song. And watching him, like, with a stick in his mouth for half of it, playing something in one hand and drums, it was pretty epic when he got going. It was that one, and then going back to the night before, could see him on American Baby intro, and it's, again, that the way that whole thing just comes together. It comes together around Carter in a really, really cool way. And Dave. I mean, look, they're all doing it. It's amazing. You Might Die Trying. They didn't slow down after Let's Dance, and You Might Die Trying keeps the energy going. Ocean of Butterfly. Okay, folks, let's take a breath, because there's still more to come. It was like, and the Everyday and Marching combo was pretty sweet. There was a lot of singing, a lot of energy, and they timed out. Dave timed out the set. I'd be curious to know. Do you guys know? Does he actively look at his song times as he's going through the set list? Do you think he's adding up? timing?
He knows it kind of in his head, like, hey, this is typically going to
Mhm.
be, Crush is going to be about 15 minutes. I know that that's going to take up this amount. They definitely slot that stuff in. I think at this point it's probably slightly second nature to him.
I
Yeah.
think so too. He just had they had a bunch of beasts in this one. And that's
Mhm.
why, I look at it and I'm like, wow, we got this set. And yet at the end, he wasn't quite rushing like he was the night before. I mean, it was so well timed out that it was kind of ready to roll and came in under time. Um, and, uh, what happened on Ants? Ants was just another beautiful, but, that's as we take a pause before the next moment where you're like, oh my word, what just happened? I don't know if you guys had any thoughts as you were looking, as things were coming up, as you were or getting texts from me. I mean,
Just
I
jealous that you were there, obviously,
Oh,
and
yeah.
being able to experience that in that room, which looked so cool, and which is what I think made that that E1 spot, that first song of the encore, um, just that much better that it was in that building.
it was pretty special, guys. And it was God, I get quiet about that. There are moments when you're like, with this band, and I hope that all of us get some. I feel so so lucky to have experienced many, and this one is way up there. And so Dave, more than, and maybe it was part of the European tour, more than any time I can remember in recent years, was noodling on the guitar between
Mm.
songs, just constant noodling. And
Oh,
I thought that was really interesting, especially night one. It was almost like, maybe for night one, it was sort of a nervous thing. Like it was really cool to hear that, and loved it actually. And so when he came out in that E1 slot, it felt like, okay, the noodling continues. And then, oh, we're going to get a Dream Girl tease. And then he's going to do something fun. And
hmm.
I was sort of hoping that fun, I know not everybody likes it, but here on out, that's our lullaby for our boys. Like we've been
Awesome.
singing it to them for almost 6 years now
Hmm.
and didn't get it. But what we got was magic because he just kept going. And the way that he played Dream Girl, honestly not my favorite song, not many
Yeah.
people's favorite song. It was gorgeous. And
Mm.
I think where it was gorgeous was not just in the fact that he did something I think that you guys have been talking about and hoping they would do, kind of Goose-esque, where
Yes.
he changed the song. He made it into something different and really special. And he did it not just with tempo, he did it with his voice, and he worked sort of coming in and out. He almost anticipated some of the choruses kind of half a beat early, and that was cool. And it was a moment. I wish I had recorded it in many ways, although there are plenty out there, thanks to some friends. But part of it was just I couldn't believe it was happening, and just didn't have the wherewithal to pull a phone out of my pocket because I truly thought it was going to be a tease. um,
It
so
was
there you go.
incredible.
That was my impression, and I actually, it's a song we don't really love, but at one point, we're sitting there holding hands. I'm like, what the world? To Dream Girl? Like that was
Yeah.
that was just beautiful. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely was. Such a cool way that Dave played it. And I think, I mean, we have a long history with Dream Girl. I remember when it came out in '05 and the music video and everything about it. And uh I always liked the guitar riff in Dream
Mm,
Girl. That
mm,
was one thing that I think the music in it is great. Um, so to hear Dave playing it solo like that, E1 special, and he sang it, like you said, in a different way. He just made it, I thought it was better. Like I just, everything about that performance was better um, than what it's been. So
mm.
that was awesome. Enjoyed watching it for sure. Wouldn't mind seeing that again and more songs. Dave solo,
I
E1.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
He's got a lot to
do
pull
it.
from. Yeah.
He has
A
to do
lot.
it. There's
Yeah.
something about Europe and Dream Girl. It was last
Yeah.
played in 2019, and those two were in Europe. Before that was played twice, and that was Dave and Tim, both in Europe. The first Dave and Tim Dream Girl was also in London. So just that's very interesting and strange. Another one of those questions, Nolan, that we'd love to ask and be like, why? What is the deal there?
Maybe Julia Roberts was there hiding in the VIP box at all those shows. Who knows?
Maybe. You never know. Yeah, just super interesting. But yeah, so and then to close out, obviously, Watchtower with Stairway and all of that stuff there. So a lot of high energy. How was the very end to the show there, and then kind of closing out your Royal Albert Hall experience?
I'm sure there were a bunch of songs that which were going through my head on what I'd love to see, but as soon as it went towards Watchtower, it's like, yes, this is going to be great. And Stefan starts to go, and it leaves you on that high note. Like I truly feel like people were exhausted at the end of Ants and at the end of the closer, and then to get that encore just left everybody right back up on that high that we were all on 15 minutes before. And it was, I'd say perfect, Bruce. I mean, it was what, we all wanted from that band. They let it go and left it all out there in a really amazing way. Love that we got Stairway to Heaven in there. It was good. I couldn't help but think about, I feel like the biggest and most impactful Watchtower last year was when he played with the Dead and Co. And so that's honestly what I was thinking about as I was watching it, but it was pretty sweet. And I was listening to see if how long he was going to hold that one just moment that he really held for the Dead and Co show. And it was pretty sweet.
How was was there a crowd pop when they realized Stairway was being played?
I don't remember. Maybe, but honestly, I don't remember. My mind was blown.
Yeah, I figured Led Zeppelin would get a big they'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I did too. I thought we might get a Led Zeppelin song or two in there, and we got this, but yeah. I think the other interesting thing that was going on for this European tour, just from some of the stuff that I've seen, and I don't know if you guys felt this way too, Dave's almost talking on behalf of Carter a lot. So that happened in a lot of the Dave speak, where he'd be in the middle of talking and just stop and go, Carter's saying some shit in my ear. And, and at one point, go back to night one, I missed a good moment. And the good moment was between, let's see, I think it was either leading up to or right after Virginia in the Rain. There was a really strong Hall of Fame chant, because this was the first show after the guys, it was confirmed they were going to be inducted. And so that chant really picked up. Dave turns to Carter. They're back there chit chat, and you can tell that they don't want to make a big deal about it. And Dave came up and he said, we're back there trying to figure out what you guys are saying, because we don't know what the heck you're saying. And he said, and Carter just said, call Aunt Betty. And Dave said, no, I don't have an Aunt Betty. And he just paused. He goes, and Carter just told me he doesn't have an Aunt Betty. and he said, so I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about, but thank you anyway. That was very kind. It was just
jackasses, all of them.
Oh, that's classic.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see how they treat that this summer. As if that gets picked up by some of the crowds or not. I don't know. That could be interesting.
But that's got to be a thing now.
Let's go for it.
We're doing it. Yeah,
I think so. Why not?
Got to.
And the more that we can get Dave to be the megaphone for Carter, I think that's great too. Because there was just some stuff verbatim that I don't remember what it was now, but it was kind of cool to start to see and hear the interplay, and it's kind of neat that Dave's opening up to a little bit of that too. It's pretty neat.
Got to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Go check it out.
Will do, man. Well, hey, I'm glad you had an epic trip across the pond. So jealous of that experience. It's just once in a lifetime, literally.
It really was.
only done it once.
Yeah.
So next time we're gonna go.
Come on. I think if we can make it happen, we want to go again. Although
Yeah.
our other one for the European tours is it doesn't matter where in Lisbon, but Lisbon. Like it
Yeah.
just seems like those guys, like that crowd loves these guys, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool, I think.
It seems really damn cool, but I'm down to try to make it happen. So
I don't know.
I think it's gonna happen.
Hey, let's meet
One
up
day.
here first. We're not far from
Yeah.
each other. Let's figure it
That's
out.
true.
I can't hit Raleigh. I'm sorry. I've got to be in Jersey for a wedding, unfortunately. But
Goose.
Goose is happening in Raleigh.
Yes.
Bruce, you coming out? I think it's like a random
I'm
Tuesday
not.
night.
Yeah,
Bruce
it's a
at Goose.
Tuesday. Bruce
Sorry.
the Goose. He's loose. I don't think I'll make it to that one, but hopefully we'll try to see them at some point this summer. I don't know. It's the dates aren't the best, but we'll try to make something happen. I mean, you made it over to England, you made it happen. You want to do something, you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it.
That's right.
Just put it on the calendar. And if it didn't
Can't
work,
dwell on the past, can't dwell on the negatives. Next play.
yeah,
There you go.
that's right.
Next play.
Nice shout out. I love it.
All right, Max. We gotta jump over to Dublin here for the next show and wrap this thing up.
Go do that. This has been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
You're
coming
the
on.
man. Thanks, Max.
Talk
See you
soon.
soon,
guys.
man.
Yeah.
Bye.
Maximus. That was quite the recap of London. I just can't even imagine what the buzz was like in Royal Albert Hall, especially when Buddy got on the organ. I mean, it must have been like just going bananas.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have been just kind of like Max, like, what is he doing? This is no way, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks so cool. The venue just looks awesome. I mean, literally, it sounds like any show that you see there is going to be special. But I really hope that whatever show that we see there is either DMB or Goose. To be honest, I mean, just let's do it. That would be so cool. And then they shot across a kind of a tiny pond, a channel, if you will, over to Dublin, Ireland, which is where we're still yet to do or begin our honeymoon over in Ireland. Thanks, COVID. And DMB has played here. This was the fourth show over at the 3 Arena in Dublin. And what a start to the show it was, Nolan. Pig opener, Idea View, Walk Around the Moon, then Big Eyed Fish into Bartender. So much to say to anyone seeing the bridge, too much. Then a Looking for the Vein with extended intro because Dave wouldn't stop talking. I'm not really sure what it was about. I just saw that it had a very long Dave rambled, I guess, in the intro to Vein. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even read it. I just saw it. And then you got Madman's Crush, Grave Digger, Hands of God, into American Baby intro, into Break Free, So Damn Lucky YM, Jimmy Thing into Warehouse. Something to Tell My Baby Stay there in the encore. No,
that's
pretty
sweet.
cool show.
Yeah, I would have had a great time with that show. And I believe, yes, this had one of the greatest Dave Matthews Band show posters of all time.
Ooh.
That's not even a hot take. It is so freaking good. I just want it. Just to have. If I was Irish, maybe. But that man, incredible stuff right there. Some strong posters on the European tour, Bruce. They were not done yet over on the islands. Manchester up next, and this one had some nice pieces to it as well. Grey Street opener again. When the World Ends. Sam Cop, Madman's Eyes, Virginia in the Rain, Graves, Let's Go, Say Goodbye. Those two back to back. You kidding me? Do you remember tour debut? Warehouse, Spaceman, Monsters, Sledgehammer. Tour debut, only one of the tour. Lover Laid Down, Break Free, Nancy's, and there you see it again. Every Day into Ants to close the main set, and Rye Whiskey into Watchtower. Oh, we're
good runs
getting
in
there. Pretty good runs. Next up, Forst National, Belgium, Bruce.
Yeah, I kind of liked this show here too. It had some really good stuff. This is one in between, just right up before Paris, and
Yeah,
just
May
one that you
1st.
may, yeah, that people may, if they were doing, some shows. If you go over to Dublin, maybe you go back over to England, but you might skip
Mm.
Belgium and then head over to Paris if you were doing several shows over there. I think.
This
They
one's
may
nice.
have made a little mistake. You got Pantala
Yeah.
Rapunzel's to open, and then Stolen Away, 55th and 3rd, Idea of You, Walk Around the Moon, Stay or Leave, Madman's, obviously, in the first 7 songs. Triplets, so much bridge, too much. 27, tour debut, the only one of the tour, pretty cool. 7, So Damn Lucky, Straight Shot. So a bunch of S's right there in a row. Straight Shot, only time played over there. So random that it was played here. Very interesting. I wonder
Yeah.
why. Um, and also, where's Cha Cha? Okay, where's Cha Cha? Not Straight Shot. Get that out of
People
here
want to know.
for the summer. People are asking. Many people are saying. And
Yeah.
also,
Oh,
then you
yeah.
get another tour debut with Drive In, Drive Out. And this, Nolan, this is the run of the entire tour. This is
Yeah.
without a doubt. Drive In, Drive Out. Typical situation. Nancy's into Warehouse 2-step to close the set, which is straight out of 96, 97. I mean, you can't do it any better than that. And then Dream
Insanity.
Girl, So Right, Encore. Nolan, I waxed on about it. That's an incredible run to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have words for that one. That is a 1997 end of a set right there.
Yeah.
Not counting the encore. Whew, that's awesome. I mean, I just want to know why Dido? Why was that the only Dido of the tour? It's epic. And
Why'd they
then
write those songs in a row and you didn't do that any other time?
it's nuts. And then 2-step set closer. Oh man. It's just great variety in this set. And then the people who went to Paris had to be kicking themselves, as they probably were if they skipped Belgium. But man, May 1st, Belgium, May 2nd, Paris, Bruce.
All right. And now we bring in our third and final guest to Steph 41. Steph, how's it going? Thanks for joining us today. You're going to go over quite a few shows here.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
don't
ending
know.
this, on a bang, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know how work let me off for as much as they did, but here I am.
Good for you.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, you were
Forget,
working from home.
We're not
Working
talking about
from
the summer
home.
shows either.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Awesome. So, Steph, a little bit about your travels. So, let us know where you went. I know it was multiple shows over there, where you got to visit, and then we'll let you get into some of these shows here. We're really eager to hear what it was like and all of you're the only one that we've had on that went to multiple cities, multiple shows, all of this stuff. So, this is real exciting.
That's because I have an addiction problem. I can't say no. No, so we went to London first, and then we actually had a family friend who lives in Belgium, so we went over there, but we unfortunately skipped that show, which I kind of regret because that was one of the best ones. Then we went to Paris for a couple days and then Lisbon for a couple days. So it was we tried to schedule a little bit more around the shows because when you're over there, I mean, people don't go over there that often. And so we ended up trying to see as much as we could. But London, I'd say my two favorite were London and Lisbon, just in general. And so I was happy we got to spend a little more time there. And then we got to tour a lot more around London, including Royal Albert Hall. Right here. Love that place
Ooh.
so much. Yeah, there's a special T-shirt that they ran out of within about 10 minutes. So it was the lines for merch were like the United States. It was kind of a disaster.
London.
Oh, interesting. So Berlin, Chris was just saying Berlin was the opposite. So that's
I don't know why I fully expected to go in and just like waltz up, get a poster, have everything, chill. No, they opened it up and just people like ran, cut, sprinted. And I said, this must be like 80% Americans.
yeah.
Felt way
Had to
too
be.
at home.
Was Lisbon like that too?
A little less so. I got a poster, but they didn't have poster tubes, so I put rubber bands around it.
Ooh.
Got to do what you got to do.
That was
Dangerous.
rough. My anxiety kicked in there.
Oh, big time.
No, but it was more calm in the lines. There was a back of pit one, and so that's the one I went to for the poster. But yeah, London was kind of a disaster in terms of the merch, and then Paris was too. But I would expect 80% Americans at both of those.
Yeah. At least you got the shirt.
True. My poor husband did not, but I'm just wearing it on for him.
That's why he didn't come on the pod. He didn't get the shirt.
Yeah.
I asked, I said, do you want to come talk to these guys? And he's like, I'm good.
Wow.
I don't have the shirt. I can't talk about it.
We appreciate his support. Okay. So let's get in just to a little bit, since we already had Mr. Max, good friend Max, talk about these shows at Royal Albert Hall. Why is it so difficult to say? This is ridiculous. Probably because I didn't go. Since
we're
we let
Americans.
him cook on it a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm American. We're going to let Steph give us her highlights as well. And then she got a special tour around the venue too. So we want to hear all about that. And obviously, compare nights, tell us exactly which one was way better, why the other one stunk, all of that good stuff.
So night one, the set list was incredible, but I would say the highlight was we were second row. I don't know how I scored those. One of my friends called me at 7 a.m. and they said, Dave's doing European tour. I said, what? This was like 7 a.m. that day. So I logged on and I just hit best available. I got second row tickets, which was insane. So you didn't have to deal with the pit. You didn't have to deal with, that fiasco that could be. And so that highlight that night was, you felt like you were on top of the stage, and the amount of energy up there. I'm not saying they mail it in a lot, but there's a difference between them playing a show and playing the hell out of a show with their energy, with how they were feeling. And you could see up there, they were just so happy to be there the whole time. Like just Dave's expressions, the energy. And so honestly, I feel like I blacked out half of the show. I think they opened with One Sweet World. Yeah. So that was perfect. They did Best of What's Around. American Baby intro was insane. Just utterly insane. That energy. Funny the Way It Is always kills me. That whole show, I would say the best part for me was just enjoying it and being close and seeing their energy. Night 2 just was insane. And I don't know if you know this, I had never heard Crash.
Oh,
prior
really?
to night 2. So
Whoa.
long story short, I first started going to shows in 2021.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a lot since then.
How
But
many
I've
shows?
never heard
Can we
Crash.
ask you?
You what?
Can we ask you how many shows with no crash?
41.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
At your 41st show, you got it, or 42nd?
Oh no, sorry. I went 39 shows without it.
Okay.
And my total is
Okay.
at 41 now. So it was a lot without it.
Yeah.
So night 2, along with that little highlight, Dream Girl did everyone in.
Yes.
We're just standing there and I look at my husband. I said, I think those are the notes to Dream Girl. And I thought I was hallucinating because who would expect that? And then he starts playing it and everyone just lost their minds around us. That was very unexpected, but the whole show, opening with Warehouse, Minarets was insane with Buddy on the organ. So I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about this, but it's over, so I'm going to. we did the tour, and it was around sound check time, and they started to play the organ. And our tour guide, we asked him, we said, is that the band doing it, or are they just, using the organ? He said, oh no one's allowed to play that except 4 people in the entire world, including one of the I think the main young woman who plays it the most. She was out of town. And so the tour guide was like, there's no way that anyone else is playing that. And so we're like, I don't know. It's the Dave Matthews Band. Who knows?
Yeah.
So when he started opening that with that for minarets, that was another this has to be a live tracks, right? Just that show was ridiculous overall.
I would think so.
But I would say that was a highlight. Dream Girl was a highlight. Drunken Soldier, 41. Probably, if I could write a set list, it would pretty much be that. So that was
It's awesome.
Top 3 probably that I've seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do know the Stone, Bruce's favorite.
I mean, just get off the pod if you didn't mention the Stone. The only thing I think that
it's great.
Really,
it's great.
That really may affect this one getting released is Royal Albert Hall. I believe has some super high venue licensing fees or something for releases. Yeah. I read this on the internet, so it was obviously true, and I'm gonna believe it. But but regardless, I would really like that. It's got a lot of good stuff in there, and really glad you got your first crash. I've got a good friend, and she has seen multiple 2-night stands, multiple shows as well, and still has not seen it. And they seem to play it at the next show. So every time,
hugs to her, because I feel it. I feel it.
Right. Hopefully they play it more this year. I think that one it's been criminally underplayed, honestly, for a little while. Okay. Anything else on the London front, your experience there before we hop on over to Paris?
I feel like they felt the importance of playing there, just because it's not just a venue. It's history. You have to apply to play there, apparently. And you have to go through some process that has to be approved by the board. And so it wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're gonna play here. They got to have an approval to play there. And when they were up there, I feel like they appreciated every single moment that they were there, and it absolutely radiated with the crowd. There were a lot of Americans, but there were also a lot of locals, and it was just an awesome crowd too. And the energy was insane. It was very, very good.
That's epic. Oh man. And kudos to you. I saw or we were sending them back and forth, some of the videos you took. Your seats, I mean, were truly nuts. I felt like we were like Rodrigo, just right up on.
You're still not paying me though, so I don't know. You need to hire me.
Yeah, those were awesome. So thanks for sharing those with the community.
No problem.
Really
My
cool.
iPhone 15 is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not just me.
Nice work. All right, awesome. Time to jump to Paris. I think there were maybe three shows in between. Yeah. So, all right, Paris. We have no notes. We just want to hear really a quick summary for you, since maybe it wasn't your favorite compared to London and Lisbon.
It's hard to even compare them. So the venue itself was beautiful. It did feel a lot more, I don't know if they redid it recently, but it felt very new. I would say more modern than I expected. But it definitely felt small. I mean, when you looked, we were in the pit, but when you looked behind you, it was clearly very small. I think it was 2,300. And so it was a tiny, tiny venue. I would say the vast majority of people there were Americans, just because Paris is so easily accessible in a lot of places, or people love that. The pit felt very tight, oversold. And so we actually ended up going to the back rail, which I had never done before. And so that was pretty relaxed back there. It still was pretty crowded. Set list was good. It was not. It's hard to come back from London and see. I don't want to say less than average show because people watched it and they loved the set list and stuff. I think they felt tired. I don't know. They looked kind of tired sometimes, but I think they did American Baby intro again. That was phenomenal. And one of my favorite songs is Here on Out. And so I lost my mind when he played that again because I'd never heard it live. And it is just a beautiful song. And so I was very, very happy to hear that. But yeah, it was a very pretty venue, pretty crowded though. And I always buy merch and the merch line was a disaster.
Americans just again, like, what are they doing?
Everyone started, so they put it right at the entrance and people came through the entrance and just started cutting everyone in the merch line. So I didn't end up getting a poster. It's fine. I ordered it through the website.
There you go.
Hopefully all of their posters got creases in them. Bunch of jerks. This one pretty standard for me. Thank God they cut Shake Me, honestly, after Jimmy thing, because I'm not gonna lie, that would have not been a very fun ending
I actually
run.
forgot they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were glad about it. And then the Here on Out that was there's only 2 on the tour, and the other one we talked about already was had not been played since 2021. Nolan, like,
Yeah.
I was very surprised when I heard that. That was
right.
I mean, we were there at the last one, Gorge 2021. What is that?
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I knew it had not been played a lot for a while, but I didn't realize it was almost 3.5 years ago. So
That's Criminal. It's a great song.
it's a great song. Probably, arguably one of his, I would say, top love song. True love song.
Yeah, it's solid. It's that mature, Dave's older, here's a love song for the at least 40 and over crowd. Even though we're not that, we can feel that way from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm speaking up now, making sure it is known. Okay, I mean, Paris, bye-bye. Let's go on to Lisbon, where they got a few days off. Steph just mentioned that they seemed potentially a little tired. Well, they had quite a run, honestly, leading up to Paris and tons of travel. They got one of their longer breaks right before Lisbon. It was technically, 2 full days off, and then the third day leading into the May the 5th show in Lisbon at the MEO Arena. I am not sure if that is an acronym or if it is MEO, just all caps, but we will roll with either. And this was a webcast show. So all of us over here, all of us plebes in the States, were still getting to see it live. Unless you were at some random festival in Charlotte like Nolan was. You were watching this show courtesy of Volta live. And we had two of the gentlemen that work for Volta on to preview that, obviously, to help announce and preview that. So that was awesome. Shout out to Volta. They did obviously a great job, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So that was really, really cool. And obviously, Steph wanted to let you roll on this show as well. But at the same time, you're going into a show knowing it's also being live streamed across the world. So, first question, did that at all affect like what you thought may happen, or did you just not give a shit and you're like, I didn't even think about that once?
I try to not have high expectations, but I knew, 1 being Lisbon, 2 the closer, 3 they were broadcasting it. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know what they were going to do. Like Dave's brain just doesn't work the same as 99% of people's. And so what I would think would be a good show, or what I would do, obviously he's the, $300 million man versus me, but I did not know what they were going to do. I just knew it was going to be a good time. And I think a lot of the shows that I see my favorites are the ones that not only are the set lists good, but the crowds. It just plays such a big role in what my favorite ones are. Like if you're around, shitty people, it could be the best show ever, but it could be ruined. I mean, that's just, in my opinion, how things go for me. And so we went with a decent group of friends. I think there were about 10 of us. So that was a decent size, and a lot of good people in that crowd. And so we ended up doing the Golden Circle, which was kind of the front part of the pit area. So there's general admission, and in front of that was the Golden Circle. And so we tried to get a good group around us in terms of numbers, just because we knew it was going to get tight and pretty packed. But the crowd waiting to get in, there were Americans there, but a lot of happy, joyous people from over there, from all different countries. It seemed like people from Portugal. And so when we got in there and we got our spots, it seemed like a pretty good energy going in. And so when they started to come on stage, immediately everyone just started like clapping, just as loud as SPAC is like kind of what I compare everything to in terms of crowds, because people there are nuts. Like it is just so loud there. And so it was louder than that in the pit, and they were screaming "Olé!" And so from the start, it just had good energy. And so Right is one of my favorite songs, and that was the opener. And you know that it's just going to be a freaking banger if that's the opener. Ever since the Gorge, I mean, I adore that song, and it just warms my heart when it comes on. So I freaked out when that was the opener. Let's see, I love Do You Remember? I know that it's kind of a slower song, but that's just, he doesn't play it a lot, I feel like, anymore. And you correct me if I'm wrong. I know you guys know probably more statistics than I do, but it just doesn't seem to be played that much. And you can tell that he enjoys playing it. It's just,
in comparison for the first couple of years that they played it, it is definitely down in plays. So you're by far spot on that.
Yeah, only 2 times in Europe.
Yeah. And I think I've only gotten it, compared to Man's Eyes, which I've gotten 21 times. I think I've only got it two or 3. And so it's pretty, I think it's pretty rare now. Best of What's Around again. I love that song. An Idea of You. Every time, I don't know how to pronounce the guitar's name, but that red guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, my heart starts racing. I have no idea what he's going to play, but it ends up being a very good song regardless. And he sang the shit out of that song, and it was very, very good. I feel like I blacked out during half of this because I was so excited. 41 Always Rocks. Awesome. People were screaming that.
I tuned in. We were charging our car, so I got to tune in for Crush, and there's the Crush jam, and just Tim and Carter going bananas, and also the camera guy just going nuts on the live stream. He was just like filming Carter's hands and then down to his feet and like back and forth and back and forth. And I mean, it just sounded so good. And then I saw the beginning to So Much to Say. So
yeah, Carter's the go.
Out to Volta, but that was, I mean, Crush, mid-set Crush, perfect.
Yep, I agree. I feel like I always get it for a closer, and so that was fun right in the middle to do that.
I mean, this run right here especially for 2024 DMB and what you may get in some of the sets, when you have Best of What's Around, Idea of You, Crush, So Much, Bridge, Too Much, then a nice cool down with Looking for a Vein, and then 41. That's pretty damn solid, and about as good flow as David John Matthews can come up with. I really like that, and I think that segment is that's top notch. That's top notch.
For for sure. And the every day the amount of clapping during that, and some people don't, I don't know, I think they're sick of every day or the whole, thing around it where the people sing, but it was so loud. It was so high in energy, and you could just tell, like I have a video, Dave was just smiling watching everyone. Like, it still must feel incredible. You're 30, almost 35 years old in terms of a band, and you can still just have a whole arena clapping at you. You could tell that they could feel everyone's love toward them.
In Portugal.
As lame
In
as that
Portugal.
sounds, that's what it was. Like, you could feel the love that the people were giving them. And so him just smiling made me smile. And
20,000 people too. I mean,
yeah.
just a massive arena, especially
Yeah.
compared to the other venues on the tour.
I was very curious to see how much or how many tickets sold there. The general admission was packed, but around there, I think when the show started, it was, I don't want to say empty up top, but there were quite a few seats. And then when I looked up mid-set, it seemed to fill in a little bit. I'm just curious how many they actually sold for that, because 20,000 is a lot. That's a lot of seats over there.
Yeah,
it really is. I didn't know that the capacity was that. To be honest, that's pretty cool. I was gonna ask you what it was like in there, because it is obviously known for being very loud. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Was, but I didn't care.
Yeah, it didn't really look like it was the type of, it wasn't the music halls of the other places or any of those, but regardless, it sounded like you're just in a shed and ready to rock.
Precisely.
Which we're going to get to a little bit in the encore here. So you've got Every Day in the Ants to close. Obviously, that's going to be awesome. Tell us a little bit about this encore, because there's a lot going on here.
So much.
And I'm very, very curious what it was like, on the ground, what it was like in person, because it was a little awkward.
It was very awkward. Very awkward. So all I remember is the improv started. He started talking about how, well, he went into some Dave speak, and then I don't know if he got lost or choked up, or I'm not really sure. But then he started to play some random notes and wanted us to forget about whatever he had been doing. And the jam was pretty cool. I haven't seen him do an improv jam, I don't think, probably ever. So that was about a minute. That stopped. He went into Dream Girl and then stopped that. And so I don't know if he just got lost or that was the plan. But yes, it was a little bit odd in terms of how things progressed. But again, I didn't care. Was it Rye Whiskey? I think he went into Rye Whiskey.
Yeah. It was unique.
Classic.
Very unique.
But no matter what happened during the first, we'll count 2.5 songs solo, the last stop.
The full last stop.
The full last stop. So
yeah.
I had seen One Last Stop, Gorge, last year, I think it was. And he hadn't, I don't think they did a full one in how long?
It had been since 2018, I believe,
wow.
was the last, September of 2018. So it was,
September 1st.
a good, let's just say 6 years. I mean, forget semantics. It had been forever, basically.
Yeah. And so they were, when it started, I mean, it was flawless. I actually, unfortunately, missed the broadcast. I thought it was going until midnight. It did not. It was noon. And so I was pissed I missed it. But I wanted to see if it sounded as good as it was in person. Did it sound quality? I mean, for, we all compare it to the 98 one. I do anyway. But did it sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
No, it was pretty good, I think.
They were
Hyperbole aside, we were quite freaking impressed by it, to be honest. And it was, I mean, it wasn't played flawlessly like 98 because Carter did a more of a halftime in the outro, like whatever. I don't care. It sounded freaking incredible.
the man's like 65.
Well, it was just like he played it a little bit quicker. Like they skipped a few beats in the middle of the.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So whatever, who cares? And I did.
And this one had Buddy, and Buddy dominated.
Oh, it was beautiful. So yeah, I didn't.
Piano
I
in
was
that outro is like.
I was not convinced they were going to do the full reprise, but they were. They just kept going, and I looked at my husband. And I said, I think they're going to do it the full thing, which I never thought I would hear. In all honesty, they hadn't done it in so long,
Yeah.
and so when Jeff and Rashawn came in, I just started. I cry a lot. Like my friends will attest to that. But I just looked at my husband and I was just like tears in my eyes because it just sounded so beautiful. And then Dave starts singing and I freaking lost it. It was just, yeah.
Same. And I wasn't even there. It was,
I know emotions were elicited and there were no holes barred over
and just
that.
Those lyrics, like they just cut you.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I like Dave had some nice like screams, but like away from the mic toward the end. I thought it had like a nice twangy, almost like a folky version of Last Stop toward the end. Yeah, I was super impressed. One of the best Last Stop outros there's been for sure.
Yep. I've listened to quite a few of them, and I would agree, but I also am very biased when I see them live. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's always the best one.
Yeah, I mean it's not as good as the minute-long Immigrant Song, but it's close.
Never.
Okay, mute your mic and take a timeout. It's going to be played this summer, and it's going to be played in Jacksonville. It's going to be played at.
Are we manifesting? Is that what we're doing right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Nolan's only going to Raleigh currently, so it'll be played there. I'll give you that one, Nolan. And then, well, Steph, I'll let you get into the shows you're going to in just a minute. But probably Steph will see it the most out of literally probably anyone listening to this podcast. So with that being said, Steph will wrap it up a little bit with exactly where you're going this summer. Because I saw it on social media and quite impressive. So roll on through it, girl.
So in all fairness, I live in the Midwest, and so you could drive to a lot of places. That's my excuse. So we're doing Alpine, Deer Creek, SPAC.
SPAC's not in the Midwest.
No, it's not. It's not. Camden was added last. One of our friends has a birthday that weekend, and so we have to go. I got pit night too. I hear I'm gonna die. So
Camden Pit's all right. It's a little.
Just don't be. What did Dave refer to the guy as last year? Just don't be that guy.
Yeah, lost it on that dude.
Am I allowed to cuss on here?
Yes.
Didn't he say he called him a fuckhead? Like if you get called up by Dave Matthews in the pit like that, maybe you should just stop going to shows.
He was so
the maddest Dave's ever been.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I am expecting in Camden Pit, and I'll just go in with my big muscles and hopefully be fine. But yes, Camden Pit night 2, and then the Gorge. Don't judge me.
Nice.
So all the big venues except for West Palm, and then in Jacksonville, one of the biggest venues and one of the best stops of the year. Midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, right after Memorial Day. It's going to be.
All right, that's enough talk about Florida.
I'm going to
Oh,
see
wow.
Goose.
Oh,
Where?
Soulshine
oh, nice.
Memorial Day.
Arevalo's going to play there too.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Sweet.
So I forgot that you guys like Goose, so I had to throw that in there.
You forgot
Man.
this part of the, yeah, exactly. It's part of our ethos. No,
It is.
but obviously, thanks for hopping on, Steph. This was awesome. It was great, obviously, to hear from someone who was at all the shows and who experienced a lot of several other cities. You got a lot of cool experiences, and you had different little perspectives from the shows, being second row, being in the pit, doing all that stuff, different venues. So we really appreciate that and the expertise there, because that was really cool. We weren't there, so we literally had nothing to say.
Thank you for having me. It was good to finally talk to you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks
It's
for coming
weird.
on.
So, we follow each other, and now I could put actual faces to Instagram tags. So
There you go. So again, this is 2Steph41. Everything's spelled out. Well, 41 is the numbers. The 2 is spelled out. And you can find her, and she has a lot of, as Nolan said, really cool videos, cool content there. Until she gets more followers than us, and then we'll have to unfollow and we'll stop reposting her stuff, because that'll just be not fair. No, but we really enjoy it. Fun follow. So make sure that everyone goes and checks her out. Steph, you and your husband have a great summer tour. We won't be at any of those venues, but we may have to have y'all on, since you'll be at those and we'll just be at home. Maybe watching on Volta Live.
Yeah.
You never know.
yeah, you never know. That was awesome. So, well, thank you again for having me. It was good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much, and have a great summer, and enjoy Goose. Tell him we said hey.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Steph.
Bye. At this point, I believe we've covered everything on the European tour. I would like to add one more thing, going off of our combo with Steph and the web stream. I loved seeing Dave's energy at the end of Last Stop. And there's a shot of him looking at Carter at the very end through Carter's kid. And the song is ending, and he just goes like, and
Do it.
it is so freaking cool, man. It's like, honestly, him doing that, I'm like, I'd be shocked if they ever did Half Stop again, because he was so fired up. That was the coolest thing by far. I loved it. It was like they won a championship. He looked like Anthony Edwards running down the court after dunking on somebody.
It was awesome. He knew they nailed it. He knew that was special, and I really hope that means that they want to do it and continue to play it again. And yeah, it was so good. I hope. I mean, they played Last Stop, obviously, at the Last Stop in the fall, and they did it again here. I hope it doesn't just become that as well. It's kind of nostalgia act-y to do that, but that's the only somewhat negative thing I can say about that Last Stop.
Yeah.
Just, oh man, truly incredible. All right. Well, this has been just a marathon of the entire European tour. What did we do to ourselves here? I don't even know. But this has been awesome. Thanks to Chris and Max and Steph for joining us. So many cool anecdotes there. Just always better to have people that were at the show, especially really special ones. And shows. I don't mean special people. No, I'm just kidding. They're very special. That we just can't get from the couch, so to speak. But all of that being said, Nolan, there are some stats from the European tour that we have to go through right before we get everybody on out of here. If anyone is still listening, we're going to talk some numbers just really quickly. So if you hadn't jumped off already, you may now, but please don't, because some cool stats. Nolan, hit us with a few stats from the European tour.
So many good ones. 19 shows, 98 unique songs played. Whoa. Madman's Eyes played the most, 18 times. When the World Ends, most played opener 4 times. Pig, second with 3. Rye Whiskey, most common encore song. Surprising. We didn't really mention it much during this episode. And then several only played 1 time. Minaret, Seek Up, Dido, Granny, Proudest, Last Stop, What You Are, Fool to Think, 27, and It Could Happen. Was the only song from Walk Around the Moon to be played one time, and After Everything was not played. So what a
Good.
variety in Europe, and I feel like it's a sign of things to come during the summer tour. If we're reading the tea leaves correctly, based on last summer, this fall, and the European tour, Bruce.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd say we're in like you said, I think earlier, several days or hours and weeks ago when we started this episode,
Yeah.
that we're in a good time for the band. And I really hope that this continues. I think that it will. Strong sets, hopefully, to start the tour when it starts in Tampa, and then a 2-night stand in West Palm, and then 2 nights in Jacksonville, starting off with a couple of 2-night stands in the first 5 shows. That's pretty strong. That's pretty cool. That can hopefully help with the variety and bring out some cool stuff and fun stuff early on. But if you want some cool and fun stuff, I'd implore you to head on over to the Cogs Pod shop, please. We've got all of your summer tour and beyond gear, the corner of Gray Street related. Yeah, we mentioned it earlier on, but yeah, just check it out sometime, and we've got a lot of cool stuff there. So we're real excited about that. You can find it, the link to it on our socials as well. So follow us on our socials if you're not, at Gray Street Pod, pretty much everywhere. Again, please rate, review, subscribe to us here on wherever you get us on podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch us talk. It's really, really awesome to do. And then give us a nice 5-star rating and review us kindly. It's always just very well appreciated. Nolan, this was awesome. Thanks for bringing helping get some of these guests today. It's always
Hey, same to you.
a pleasure, my man, and we're real excited about what's coming up. Can't wait.
Yeah, man. Everyone, safe travels to Tampa for the tour opener next week. We'll be back with a special guest next week on the corner of Gray Street.
Osiris.